I'm an ex-male stripper. Ooh. Should I get up and dance a little bit?
Sorry, I feel like I have a robot dick in my mouth. All right, guys, welcome to episode 15. If you guys are just finding us based off of random searches on iTunes, we really appreciate you taking the time to download us. Because frankly, we have an incredibly special episode today, which I'm really excited about. So we're just gonna skip all the BS, and we're just gonna hop right into it.
We have a special guest today.
Yeah, I can't really explain it. It's really hard, and right now it looks like I'm not looking at you, but I am looking at you. I promise. So the cameras can suck it.
Great peripheral vision.
But today we have a friend. I guess a friend of mine. I'd like to call him a friend, an associate at this point. But Perry Kurtz. LA comic legend, as far as I'm concerned. Walking history, welcome. Walking museum.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Someone who, based off of stuff that I've heard, has pretty much seen most of everything that's happened, even behind the man who is behind the man, almost. You know. And so,
after 45 years in this business, I have seen a shitload.
Yeah, I bet, and that's something.
How long? How long have you been?
45 years.
And that So that's
1974.
And you came down from San Francisco.
I started in Philadelphia.
Oh, you started in Philadelphia.
Started doing it there, and I started becoming funny when I was 10 years old. My father was kind of physically abusive. My nose has been broken 11 times, 6 times by my father. Oh, wow. And I don't know if you can see it from there, but you'll see it makes a right turn.
He's touching his nose
because he was 5'10", and I was usually around less than 5 feet in those days, probably 4 feet, and he would always right cross me, but he would just come home and snap out. Oh, shit. He'd walk in and I'd go, "Hey, Dad, how was work?" "Shut up!" Boom. Oh. One time I woke up behind the couch. He knocked me out, pulled the couch out, put me behind it, and pushed the couch on me.
Oh, jeez.
And there were a lot of times, under the rug, sweep me under the couch. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times he would yell at my brother, and I would jump in between them. And to stop him from doing it, my brother was 6 years younger than me.
Oh, shit.
And so being the older brother, I was always protective.
Right.
And one time he looked at me and goes, "Do I have to take off my belt?" And I said, "Well, I'd appreciate it. It's smaller than your hand."
So you had quips back then?
Well, he laughed, and he walked out of the room. And on a subconscious level, and I never realized this until about maybe 3 years ago when this memory came out of the storage closet, I realized that humor is very powerful. Yeah. And it can diffuse anger and a lot of other things. Oh, and in my life, it's worked a lot. So I started becoming funny. And I found that I had this ability to pick up all the details. So when I would tell a story, people would see what I was talking about, and they would laugh. So I just have an experience, and the way I describe it, people, they see what I'm talking about, and it's funny. So in 1974, I quit my day job. Mm-hmm. I was an art director for a religious publishing house.
Interesting.
It was a Jewish-owned company for non-Jews. I'm a Jew, but I'm a bad Jew. Last Easter, my daughter and I ate a pound of bacon for breakfast.
just to put it?
Yeah, and I'm not religious at all. Somebody's having a bar mitzvah or something, I'll show up. But,
right.
And I can sound like I'm real Jewish. I can go, now that's called Yiddish.
I'll take 2 of those.
Which is a derivation of Hebrew. And the language, I think, is designed with a lot of chachs in it because Jews eat a lot of corned beef and dairy products, which builds up phlegm in your throat. So they created a language. So when you talk, it clears it out.
Make do with what you got.
Right. So I had this job as an art director, making an inordinate amount of money. And I was only there for 2 years after I got out of art school. I moved right up because I had the ability to illustrate. In other words, my job was to read the Bible and illustrate Jesus and his buddies hanging out, but in full color in watercolors.
What art school did you go to?
Hushin School of Art.
All right, and that's where you learned how to
draw? That's in Philadelphia. I've always had the ability to copy photos.
Okay.
When I was 10 years old, I was sent down to the principal's office because I was sitting next to the teacher's desk, where I always sat. because I talk too much.
Nah.
And I had copied a photograph of an adult and a baby robin with crayons and used my finger to blend the colors.
Oh, wow.
And they had never seen anything like this before. And I was sent to a doctor and a psychiatrist. They said,
He's dying.
They said, well, with those jokes, he will be.
Hey.
And they said, you have an unusual ability. And so when I got out of high school, where I was in the art school there, I went to this commercial art school for 4 years. And when I got out, first job I got was an assistant art director. And the lady left, and I became the art director. That's awesome. So I had to read the Bible and spend 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day illustrating, and it had to look like a photograph because we didn't have computer generated.
Yeah.
A camera was as long as this couch, and the film was on a plate, and you actually put the curtain over your head.
And you could get people dressed up in a mane. It's just
no, it didn't have. If you took a picture of people, you had to hold up the thing and light the flash powder.
What was this, 1800s?
1200s. So I got this job, and for about a week, I was spending 16 to 18 hours a day illustrating. And I went home one day, and in those days, because of all the money I made, I had the party apartment. 4-bedroom, 3-bath apartment. I had 4 cars.
Nice. Damn.
And I smoked marijuana.
Of course.
Of course. Well, in those days, it was
Who didn't?
all underground. And I don't know if you've ever been into a smoke shop, but they have these chrome and glass display cabinets with trays with all the different pipes. So you push a button and it goes around.
Yeah.
I had one of those in my apartment with blackout glass and black lights inside. So when you would push the button, you could see what it is. So I had one of every type of smoking device.
Damn.
I had a fish tank this long with giant goldfish and arowana, which is like a long flat fish in there.
Okay.
And I had glass tubes going through it. So we were using this fish tank
to smoke
as a
out
pipe.
of. Damn.
No, the fish weren't getting high.
No, they weren't. And I've always been into creating things and building and adding on and fixing anything. I went out and stole a bunch of those blue plastic milk crates.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got a bunch of them. And I bolted them together to make a giant T like this with an opening in the middle. In the middle was a turntable for records. We had records in those days.
Right.
And I had a cassette deck.
Yeah.
That's all we had. A chrome
Records
Harman
for you
Kardon
kids who
cassette
don't know.
deck.
That's the stuff they hang
This
up on
was
the
just
Cracker
after
Barrel walls.
8 tracks.
Oh, okay.
Now, it was so heavy, it was bolted to my wall.
Damn.
I had lights in it and clear plastic, fluctuating plastic in there, and it was set up so it would blink with the music. But around it, I put tracks, and I put vertical blinds with a motor. So when I would walk in and I would hit the light, it would open up, and there would be this
regular
thing.
Casanova.
People come into your house and see all these lights and black lights.
First they don't see anything. They saw this thing behind wood, and they go, "What's that?" And I go, "Watch this." So I had all this money, and I took care of my friends, but I had spent all this time drawing Jesus and his buddies. I go home.
Shit, yeah, you're still telling that. I forgot he was talking about how he drew Jesus.
Sinful life.
I was thinking about his house, yeah, and I was like, damn. But anyway, so what happened? So drawing
I go
Jesus.
home, and I'm taking a shower. I'm washing the soap out of the back of my hair, open my eyes, and there's Jesus nailed to the wall like this.
What?
He was 3D. I could smell him. I mean, it was like...
So wait, you're saying this is real? Like you're saying you went home one day and you were in the shower.
Wait. Let me explain it. I saw this.
Okay.
So in my mind, it was real.
Okay.
I really saw Jesus there. I saw him breathing. There was blood running down his arms.
Okay.
Meeting with the blood where his feet were jammed in. There was a wooden stake holding each wrist and his feet, which were crossed over.
All right.
And the blood was mixing and going down to my feet, going into the drain. Right. And I went, Oh my God. And at first I thought it was one of my friends that had dressed up and jumped in to freak me out. Oh, guys. And I smashed my head on the shower nozzle. Yeah. I wake up, I don't know how many minutes later, and I'm laying in a pool of blood, and there's 5 of my friends standing over me, and I'm naked. And I have a flap hanging off the back of my head. I ripped it open, went to the hospital, got 22, 23 stitches, which we had to have redone. Saw a doctor, and the doctor, a shrink, said, because I had been creating 3D images so that I could illustrate them, when I relaxed, I had a hallucination. And even as I'm telling the story, I see him in my mind so clearly with the thorns and blood running down his face and the sweat. And he's like, look at me, help me.
Damn.
And I just couldn't believe I was having a hallucination.
Did you take that as some, like, as...
Some kind of sign?
Some type of sign?
No, you just...
No. He's like, I decided to get into comedy.
No, that... actually...
real quick, Perry, and I hate to interrupt.
Shortly after that, I did go into comedy.
And that's the real reason, just so everybody doesn't think we just pulled someone over.
Part of it. I had $60,000 in the bank that I had saved up. Multiply that times 5. That's what it would be nowadays.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I had always been funny, and all of my friends would always say, oh, you're funny. You should be a comedian. And I'd always make people laugh. So I quit the job and lived on it for a while, and then moved in, split rent with a friend in a house, and went to a place, the Crazy Horse Saloon in Barrington, New Jersey, where they were having a talent contest. And I got up and I just babbled for 5 minutes. And I walked out with $500.
What? So you wanted to just forget?
Just talking, people were laughing.
Yeah, so you were relaxed.
But I've always been this way.
Mm-hmm.
I've never felt pressure, even if I had to give a speech in front of 10,000 people. And I perform for crowds up to 28,000 people. No stress at all. If I have a TV camera, I think there's millions of people watching. Perfectly comfortable. So I started taking comedy lessons in Philadelphia, started doing it there, but couldn't really work out, so I was driving up to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably maybe 76 or 77. I was working at Caroline's, and I just finished doing my set. As I'm walking off the stage, they're introducing Jerry Seinfeld. Now, this was before he had a TV show. He was well known as a headliner on the comedy circuit, but he was not anything special on TV. Right. So he walks by, says, hang out. So he goes up, does the show. You ever notice? Yeah. Afterwards, we're standing in the lobby, and he says, man, you're great up there. He says, do you even write material? I said, no, I just talk. He says, I struggle to write my stuff. I spent hours on it. I said, no, I just talk. I'm just bizarre. This little blonde comes out, and she says, you're so funny. I love you. We should go out. Wait, she gets a napkin. She writes her phone number. Gives it to him. She goes, here. She goes inside. He looks at me and goes, what should I do with this? I said, call her. He says, you think I'll get lucky? I said, I think you'll probably wind up fucking her. Mm-hmm. She gave you her number.
Yeah.
And real quick, and I just want to take a pause so you can get some water, and I just want to catch everybody up because we jumped in to the deep end. So let me just make sure that everybody kind of knows exactly what's going on real quick.
What is going on?
I know, it's awesome, it's great. This is Perry. You're experiencing the full full thing.
Are you aliens?
Because what I want to do is I want to get the main part of it taken care of first before I turn him loose. Because once I turn him loose, he's going to go all the way 100%. So real quick, thank you to everybody who downloaded the past couple of episodes as well. The numbers are steadily rising. They're there. We know there are people going on, so we really do appreciate it. As always, you guys can find us on any iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, Stitcher, anywhere that you get any type of platform that can stream podcasts. That's where you'll find us. Everywhere. So we really do appreciate that. Just a few specific shout outs on my end. I do want to give a shout out to my sister Emily, who's been listening to us pretty steadily, which is pretty awesome. I do want to mention that Jane is here with us as well on the mics today. Hi, Jane.
Hey.
We're taking a bit more of a proactive approach to involving feminism in our show, since most of the time it's just just slinging salamis. Yeah,
I'm
out
a
here
devout
on the
feminist.
show.
I'm for that.
Exactly.
I am.
So Jane's actually going to be sitting in with us a little bit more, which I'm actually really excited about because I think that's going to...
Because we were even thinking, like, on the days that it's just both of us, like, I always wanted her in the background to be able to say things.
Yeah.
And be involved. Well, because you would. It's just that no one listening would hear it.
Number 2, for the visual followers who are watching us on YouTube, again at Binge on this.
We bought a warehouse.
We have a new location. This is our new studio. We're going to work on a brand new name for it, but for right now, this is where we're going to be shooting a majority of the new show. So if you're just listening to us, go ahead and check us out on YouTube, Binge on This. All one word is going to be the easiest way to find us. You'll be able to check out our evolution. No more green screen. We're adults now, and I think that's really appropriate. And that's pretty much on my end as far as the announcement wise. Do we have anything else that we're missing? We had a really great show last week, which was amazing. Things got a little too intense, but it was great. Nothing's more genuine.
I got a little heated.
It was authentic. It was
not just that. I think the subject overall was we were dealing like mortality and death and sort of that. And so
good. Bring that up when there's an old.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So what I wanted to do.
Want that episode because we had 2 episodes.
Exactly, and I said enough. I want to pick up the spirits. I want to bring a little life back into us. So I decided to bring Perry in. Again, Perry Kurtz, been here in LA, working steadily, and you can see it's very hard for people to say that, especially in the comic business.
It is very hard.
But steadily working 20 years plus, probably 30 years.
45 years.
I'm trying to make you sound young for all our young honeys who are listening to you.
Nobody ever guesses my age.
If you guys aren't seeing Perry, again, through YouTube, Perry's 6'9", black.
What's your YouTube?
Everything is Perry Kurtz. PerryKurtz.
So make sure that you guys go check him out. Maybe put us on pause. That's the beauty about a podcast. You can press us on pause.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I posted my Love Connection video at your suggest last night.
Yep, I saw that. It was great. You watched that, didn't you?
Yeah.
I told him we're going to start working on because he has so many pictures okay. So anyways, Perry is unique in the sense that he knows a lot of Jerry being one of the early people that you knew or knew of before he blew up. But in particular, Robin Williams.
Well, let's get back to the Jerry Seinfeld story.
Exactly. But just to let you guys know, Perry, pretty much we're going to let him go 100% on this one. He's the theme. My week was good. Your week?
My week was fine, yeah.
Good.
Had a good week.
You're not in jail.
Good. Perry, how was your week? Good week?
Fine, I'm still alive.
I like it. I
wake up the same way every day. I wake up and I go, shit, I got to do this again.
My guy. Well, that's something great. And let's start off with back to Jerry.
Let's get back to Jerry. Who's the new boy? So Jerry's looking at this and he's going, I can't believe she's so hot. She's so gorgeous. I can't believe. He says, you really think I'm going to get lucky? I said, she gave you her number. Show ends. Everybody's leaving. She comes out. She's being dragged by a large black man. And I mean large that he would have to duck to come through a regular doorway. And she's being dragged. She's like this. She's pulling her. And she goes. And he looks at me, and this is typical Seinfeld. He looks at me and goes, I can't fill those shoes.
That's good. That's a good Jerry line.
So I have a lot of stories about things that the big names have said. Dangerfield was one of my best friends. Rodney and I were very close. Milton Berle and all this.
Well, it's because of Rodney. Seinfeld ever happened, probably.
He helped him out a lot.
Seinfeld would happen, but I just mean like...
He was working. He was moving towards it. As I said, he was headlining national clubs.
Yeah, you helped Jim Carrey too, Rodney?
I don't know anything about Jim. I could tell you a story about Jim Carrey too. But Rodney, I met him... as I said, I was a male stripper, and I ran a very large club in San Francisco.
Retouch on that, because I don't think we were recording when that was happening. The male stripper part.
I am an ex-male stripper.
Ooh.
Should I get up and dance a little bit?
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Hey, that is a first. That is a this, that, and the other first.
Yeah, so being the cute little funny guy, I made a lot of money when I would dance.
Oh, I bet.
One time, and I guess I can admit it was long enough, 84, that's when I quit. I was coked out, and I was mixing my coke and my nasal spray in those days.
Fuck.
Does that make it work better?
Oh, yeah. It gets right to your brain instantly. And because it's being diffused and diluted right up there.
We have this.
I went out
not
and
endorsing
I
the
would
type of
normally
drug usage
dance to
as a nasal
songs like
spray.
Vision of Love by Mariah Carey. Weird
Nice.
things like that. One night, one of the guys said, why don't you dance a Bohemian Rhapsody? So I went up and I danced a Bohemian Rhapsody. And at one point, and I will do this for you, I went like this. Beelzebub has a blah for me, for me, for
Taking
me.
seizure movements.
Karate chopping.
And at that point, I threw my arms up and I did a backflip from a stand.
What? You can do that?
You landed it?
No. I never did it before. And I landed flat on my feet, finished the dance, went downstairs and passed out for 20 minutes.
You mad
Damn,
man.
Mad skill.
Yeah, that's rock star shit.
So I moved out there and I was working out. I met a comic named Bobby Slayton, who's a national headliner. We became close and he took me to all the comedy clubs, got me in there. I got to meet everybody. I met Robin Williams. Yeah. Him and I became very, very close and we were doing hundreds of hours of improv together. On Tuesday and Thursdays, I hosted a regular show at a club called the Holy City Zoo, which is where he was discovered. And he would just jump up with me, and I found that I had the ability to go into the characters. Hello, good to see you. And do all the stuff he would do.
Yeah,
And the nasal coke probably helped too.
Hey, well, no, just to keep up with Robin Williams. Yeah, I mean your improv skills. Probably.
Right. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
I've just naturally been improvisational. So we became good friends. And then
You're still in New York at this point, right? What year is
No,
this?
this is I moved to San Francisco in '79
Okay.
because there was nothing to do in Philly.
Okay.
And I couldn't drive the 93 miles to New York every time I wanted to do
This shit's
that.
cold.
Well, cold in the summer, it's unbelievably hot. Because it's the Atlantic Ocean, which has salt in it, the humidity stays there. So it'll be 100 degrees, but it'll feel like 300 degrees.
Yeah.
You would walk from here to the other end of the pool, and you would instantly be dripping in sweat.
Yeah, that's why I liked Arizona. 120 degrees, I'm dry.
Yeah.
Although when we went in July, it was
Well, that was
so
monsoons.
humid.
That was monsoon season.
Arizona's a hellhole in my opinion. It's like
Yeah.
being stuck inside of an oven.
Well, I'm going to go up there and do some of the senior homes because they only have 3 million.
Oh yeah,
senior
you'll make a killing with the snowbirds
I
out
know.
there.
Sun City?
Don't say killing and seniors in the same
Oh, see, that's bad material
bad
right there.
connection. So I got to San Francisco and I was working out at clubs and there was a woman who was emceeing the male strip show. Now it's amphitheater seating. I think it was like almost 200 seats, multiple rows. You come in off of Broadway, which is all strip shows, cabaret, restaurants, bars, where all the tourists go. And you come in and you walk down, you go in there. So, women would come in and I would talk dirty. I would introduce things like this next dancer is so well hung, he stepped on his dick getting out of the tub this morning.
That's a good
You know,
one.
If you need a place to hang your jacket, use him, things like this. This guy has muscles on his penis, things like this. And the women were screaming. Eventually, women started yelling, no, we want you to take it off. They were blind, but I realized that they saw the mentality, not the physicality. And I sent you a bunch of pictures. I don't know if I sent a picture of me, little skinny guy in a tuxedo with a ruffled tuxedo shirt, big hair, and big glasses.
Sexy.
And so I would go up there and I would dance, but I would make it funny. Now, I used to dance on American Bandstand in the 60s when I was in Philadelphia.
Damn.
Because I have moves and I can move my feet. And every episode started with me, my feet moving across the floor like James Brown. And they would pull back, and here's this little tiny guy in a black suit, white shirt, skinny black tie. And they would pull back, and I'm dancing with a giant blonde. That was the opening of the show.
That's
for 2
awesome.
years.
I'm going to have to find that.
So I've always had this dance ability. So when I went out there, the guy showed me some tricks and stuff like that. And so I said, all right, you want me to dance? It's going to be funny. So I would go out there, and one of the things after I would get off the jacket, I have a jacket drop where I just go boom, and my jacket falls off. And I would pull my pants down, and I'd be wearing striped underwear. I pull those down. Now I'm wearing polka dot. I pull those down. They're fluorescent blue. I pull those down. They're zebra stripes.
I would be so
going on.
mad.
So I had 9 pairs of underwear on.
Show us your dick.
And I had them all around my ankle. And I was running around the stage. I had a G-string on. One of the strippers on the street got me a leather custom-made G-string with a rhinestone smile and a little rubber tongue about this long hanging out. So when I would dance, the tongue would flap. So I had that around my ankles, but I had on this oversized tuxedo shirt that came down to here. So I'm running around the stage with my pants around my ankles. I would jump off the stage over the bar and go into the audience, and women would touch me.
Grab and rub.
They didn't grab. They were very gentle.
Gentle.
They were very gentle, but they would caress, let's just say. And I would put my shirt over their head. And since it came down to here, and the light came from the back of the room, and I was in front of them, people in back of them couldn't see what was really going on. Now, the club was owned by the mafia. And so the police were on the take. If they were going to come in and check for underage people, one of the policemen in the area would come in and tell me, they're going to do a run. You need to get out anybody who's not legal.
That's good.
Damn.
So we were protected. Well, one time there were just 2 women in there. It was like 5 of 2, and we went right up to 2, and they were in the front row. And I got in between the 2 chairs, facing one. Hello? Facing one, and my butt towards the other one. One was doing the front, and the other one was licking my back.
Hey.
I get done, and Bob Geary, who was the local cop, comes up and he says, I know what was going on. I said, well, you're really good. He said, look, I could tell by your face that you were getting everything licked. And he said, don't do that. You're going to get me in trouble. All right, I got to go. And he left. But that was the situation. Now, because I ran a major club, it was right at the intersection of Broadway and Kearny, and it was big, a big club. I got to sit at the family table at Enrico Benducci's. Enrico's was a big restaurant where celebrities would come and sit, and they had a 12-foot beautiful marble table outside on the patio looking at the street. And all the celebrities that were in town would come sit there. Well, I was invited to sit with Bill Cosby.
Hey.
And I had dinner with Bill Cosby. The joke I wrote recently is that I had dinner with Bill Cosby, and I know what everybody says about him now, but I remember one time I did fall asleep during dinner, and I woke up, and there was a cigar in my mouth. I think it was a cigar.
Nice.
Anyway, I fell back to sleep. Now, I don't know about the allegations, but I will say that he was very bossy, very demonstrative, and he did talk to the servers like they were second-class citizens.
Oh, wow.
And all the women were honey, sweetheart, not miss, but all very derogatory terms.
When he talked to the servants or the help, did he take any notice of color? Like, did he speak the same to everybody?
No, color didn't matter to him.
Hell yeah, everybody's green when you got that much money. You know?
I have 4 children. I've raised all my kids on 2 principles. Number 1, you judge people only on how they treat you. Doesn't matter where they're from, what they look like, what they sound like, or what you've heard about them. Right. All that matters is your personal interaction, and that's how you judge them. And other than that, if there's something you want to do, practice, become the best you can. Never give up till you finish your project. And I've always been that way. I have 2 kids. They are managers of bookstores. And my oldest daughter is a manager of some company out in Colorado. And her and her husband just bought a house.
Hey, congratulations. And none of them in comedy?
No, they've all done stand-up comedy, but they've all dabbled in it, gotten up at open mics and stuff like that. I also have a 14-year-old daughter, but that's another episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Do your kids brag a lot about you when you were younger? Or when they were younger?
I don't know. I wasn't with them when they were with their friends.
Well, I guess maybe I just didn't know. Maybe when you're older.
So enough about my family.
Well, let's skip up a little bit. I want to. You got a billion stories. Let's get a little deeper into the comic side of it. You're let's say 5 years of being really successful at comedy. Let's jump to the dating game.
Well, I quit stripping in '84,
which was a sad day for everybody.
Well, I left there because, first of all, I was doing a lot of cocaine. I was having way too much illicit sex because I was the manager of the club. If a woman, and we would fill up 2-3 times a night, hundreds of women. If they wanted to have sex with one of my dancers, I had to make sure that the tang or poontang was quality
of
for my boys.
I mean,
so I had my own office downstairs, and I had a 12-foot glove leather couch. Now, glove leather is really, really soft. Yeah. So I would take them back down there, and I would do them, and then my watch would go off, and I got to go get one of the guys off and change. I leave them down there, and I come down, and there's a line of guys waiting to do these women.
Damn.
Now, this was before AIDS. In San Francisco, there was approximately 12 women for every straight man. I mean, even you could get laid up there.
I bet.
Maybe.
So
he was pointing at me for the listeners.
I got out because in '84, AIDS, which was previously called the monkey disease, was now given the name of AIDS. They gave it a technical description and a name. And if it's given a name, I need to get out while I can, because between the drugs and the sex, I'm going to die here. And I started going on the road. But because of the repertoire and material that I had developed, and because I was naturally funny, and I'm very interactive, I read the crowd. If I'm saying something, they interrupt me, I just go on. And I'm likable. I'm not negative at all. Yeah. I went on the road in '84. By '86, I was headlining almost all the rooms. I headlined all the comedy zones. And I was on the road 40, 45 weeks a year, making good money.
Yeah, so I mean, and at that time, comedy, because we have a new golden age of comedy kind of going on right now where it's kind of inundated, but comedy back then, I mean, it was a little rougher than today.
Well, there weren't as many comics.
Yeah.
Less than 2% of the comedians were female, which is really sad. People always say, women are as funny as men. I go, well, you're just not being the funny ones.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Right. Now we're up to about 8%. That's still not a fair balance. And when I was going on the road, there was a lot of road work. You could go out for 2 months at a time.
Yeah.
And the money was pretty good. Then when I moved down here in '89, and I moved down here because, as I said, I was having dinner with Cosby all the time, and I met Rodney Dangerfield, and then I met Milton Berle. And Milton was bringing me down here to work at the Friars Club. At the Friars Club, one night, I got done doing my show, and there's Johnny Carson, Joey Bishop, who you won't remember. Yeah. Carson, who was the idol to all the comedians. Everybody. If you did Carson, your career was set.
Oh, if you did Carson, he called you over to a seat.
Then, yeah, that's it. So I get off the stage, and I got to do 11 minutes instead of normal 6. And he's standing there, Joey Bishop, Shecky Green, who was really tall, and Phyllis Diller, who was like the first female comic.
Oh, sorry.
We're going to do an edit of his little ass coming through the room.
There you go.
So I get off the stage, and Johnny walks up and he says, "Hey kid, I saw you. You're very funny. I like your motion. You got all my moves." I said, "Well, I grew up watching you. I want to be you." He goes, "You could have a dream." And then Joey Bishop in a deep voice goes, "You're very funny." Shecky Green looks at me and goes, "You're really tiny." Phyllis Diller goes, "Nice, very nice." I get a tap on my shoulder. I turn around. It's a little bald fat guy. Takes my hand. He goes, "I saw your show. Nice try, kid."
Oh, that's
Don Rickles.
Yeah.
No
Johnny walks over me.
Friars Club?
Yeah.
Fuck.
You missed it.
I went in there to make sure that the little kids. And I missed the Friars Club.
Dude, I mean, just
you can watch it later. So Johnny says, if Don insults you, you have a future, because he doesn't talk to anybody he doesn't think is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
that's the high.
That night, Milton called the Comedy Store. He got me an audition for the next day, which is virtually impossible in that day, because in those days, comedy was around the block. You would have to take a taxi from where you had to park your car to get to the Comedy Store. It was like $25 to get in, and each drink was $11.75.
Even back then?
Even though that's when the golden days were. It died out, and now it's coming back. But it was packed always. Every room, all three of the rooms were always packed solid. They turned people away.
This is the world famous Comedy Store here on
Right.
Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
So I got in there. I went down there. I went down and I did my strip routine for Mitzi. And all I did was dance. All I did was take off my jacket when I strip. And the thing with the nipples and stuff.
Mitzi Shore.
Mitzi Shore is the owner of the Comedy Store, who's since passed away. That's another story. We'll get into that with Paulie
on the
and
next episode.
with Paulie and Jim Carrey.
Rest in peace, Mitzi, by the way. 1 year going on that actually coming up. So.
Please don't say her name a lot. She meant a lot to me. Anyway, she was like the mother told us. She really knew what comedy was. And I got called back, and he said, Mitzi wants to see you. And I go back, and she said, I really like you. You're very funny, and I don't have anybody like you in my stable. Now, those are two key words. Well, phrase, nobody like you in the stable. She would only bring somebody in as a regular if you were not like anybody else who was there. If you were similar to another character that was there, didn't matter how funny she was totally loyal to her people. So I got in.
That's
Next
awesome.
night I started working there. I was getting $250 for a 20-minute show in the main room in front of 400 odd people, and I was doing 4 a weekend. So that was $1,000 every weekend. I was also allowed to play in the OR, the original room, where I was getting 35 during the week and 50 on the weekend. So I did that 7 nights a week. And the belly room upstairs, which was originally created for women, I was playing up there and getting $25 and doing 2 shows a night. So I was making $1,700 a week.
Yeah, you were running all those rooms and
Constantly.
Yeah.
And I worked with everybody. I worked with Pryor and Argus Hamilton, Blake Clark, and all these other names.
Legends. Like,
I mean, anyone who's anybody, that's the place.
It sure was then, yeah. The Improv was more of the Outsiders Club. People out of town knew of the Improv because he had farmed it out. He had evening at the Improv. The Comedy Store didn't have a TV show. So the home viewers knew of the Improv.
Right.
And when they would come to L.A. But the Comedy Store was people, if you want to go see a raucous show, because people at the Improv tend to be a lot cleaner.
Right.
And at the Comedy Store, it would get crazy. So I got in there, was there for years. Met my wife a year after I moved down here, met her online, which a whole other story. And I remember working with Richard Pryor, I don't know, 9, 10 times. He was such a sweet man. Sweet, cool guy.
Well, that's good.
Unassuming. Always thanked everybody for talking to him.
Aw.
Thanks for coming by. You know, and he was shaking in those days. He was pretty bad.
He was getting
A joke I remember one night, he came out shaking. He said, everybody says that Richard Pryor doesn't have AIDS. He says, I don't have AIDS. You'll know I got AIDS when you see me walking along Sunset Boulevard, bent over naked with a dick sticking out of my ass. Then you know Richard Pryor has AIDS.
Did you hear anything about him and Marlon Brando?
No, I've heard stories, but nothing directly.
I mean, apparently his wife said at one point that him and Marlon Brando had a relationship, like a sexual relationship.
Well, that's...
I think that was rumored because they were hanging out a lot.
I don't know. I mean, his wife says it's in a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's like,
Yeah,
which is whatever. I'm down for that.
Right.
Which makes me laugh.
Well, just because it's in a book doesn't mean that it's true.
Well, from her.
Right, and just because people are talking about it, people assume a lot.
Right.
And there's an old saying, you assume things, you make an ass of you and me.
Yeah.
So you can't believe everything everybody says.
Yeah.
I personally don't believe everything I say. But the thing is, you just can't look at these rumors, and you have to judge things based on what you know.
Right.
It's so easy to just assume this one sleep with that one because they were close or because they touched each other.
Right.
That doesn't mean shit. And unfortunately, the industry has made up a lot of rumors.
Especially in this day and age with the information. And all
So,
I mean, if it was coming from a different source than his wife, I wouldn't have even brought it up, you know.
So comedy died out around 2004, 2005.
Okay, and you're still at the Comedy Store at this point?
Yeah, I'm still there. Comedy Central came out, and HBO started running their comedy specials. So people were seeing all this comedy on TV, and most of it was very mundane. And it was also watered down. They homogenized and took anything that might have any bite to it.
Yeah.
Not necessarily dirty, but anything that was slightly edgy. They didn't want the home viewers to be offended.
Yeah, so it was like blue collar comedy and stuff started.
It wasn't even blue collar comedy.
Because they were.
That came out later.
Yeah.
But it was very clean and wholesome. Your kids could watch it. So people stopped going to the clubs because they said, why should I pay to see this stuff? And what they saw was such crap.
Yeah.
And it killed comedy. In 2005, I don't know, maybe 100,000 or more was my income because there was that much on the road. Rodney was flying me to New York back in the late 80s, paying me $3,200 a week for 5 nights, 7 shows. And I would hang out with him every night. The club was packed because he was in town, so people knew. So they were coming. I would do an hour show with virtually no material. And can I tell you a story about Rodney?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, please.
What's going on?
Kids having some fun. I'll go smack them around in a few minutes. I don't know if the mics are going to pick them up. These things are only good for about 3 feet, although they are
we
good.
should be fine. I just says if you're not distracted by it, then we'll be okay.
Doesn't bother me. I've had fires go off in back of me and gunshots, and I go on. I introduced a band at the Exotic Erotic Halloween Ball, and the ceiling fell down on the drums before they were coming out, the Greg Allman Band. And I had to appease 10,000 people till they set it up, so nothing fazed me. So I'm working with Rodney, and he would tell me, don't bring any money, I'm paying for everything. So first class, limo from the airport, stayed at Hilton, giant room, 2 beds, free food, whatever I wanted. I was having steak and lobster for breakfast.
Wow.
Now, Jack, his real name is Jack Roy, is a big pot smoker. Everybody knows he was in drugs. And because I knew him as a person, I called him Jack. So one night I get off the stage, and he's standing there with this kid. I don't know, kid was maybe 5'10", and he says, hey, Per, this is my friend Danny. Danny's going to write for me. He gets me. And I said, what do you mean he gets you? Everybody gets you. How hard it is to write for you? It's the same thing. You get no respect. He said, no. What he does is he explains the jokes visually, so I don't have to remember the words. So he puts in hand motions and gestures and looks to the right, which is the same way it was with Leno. I wrote for him for 12 years. And the jokes were the same way. You have to write in the hand motions. Hands up, fingers extended, thumbs out to the side, points left. That all has to be in there.
Oh, wow.
They don't want to think about it.
Okay.
So it was the same way with Rodney. So he found somebody that could write the jokes in a visual manner so that he could remember it by reading it once. And the kid says, oh, Mr. Kurtz, how do you do that? You don't know what you're saying up there. I have no clue. So Jack says, let's go out in the alleyway and smoke a joint. So we're out in the alleyway. Now, the alleyways in New York, aside from being disgusting, they are there's dumpsters on one side, dumpsters on the other side, room in the center for one car to go down, and a gully in the middle where they would dump the filthy water from washing dishes rather than clog up their drains.
Yeah.
So you have to step over it.
Classy.
There were rats that were big enough that, you could see their facial expressions. They were pissed you were in their house.
Yeah, they're going to be asking you for a cigarette.
They're running by and one's giving you the finger. Jack lights up the joint, and he says, all right, here we go. Passes to Danny. He says, you know what, I got to pee. Starts peeing on the dumpster. Danny passes me the joint. I take a hit. I pass to him. I go, you know what, I got to pee. I start peeing on the dumpster. He takes another hit, puts the joint down, starts to pee, and he looks at me and goes, this is the best day of my life.
Two dudes being on trash, smoking a joint.
Well, it shows you, it's not that he was smoking the joint. It's all point of view, relevance. He was smoking a joint with Rodney Dangerfield, who was top of the game in those days.
So cool.
We hung out, and Rodney would get up every night after me, and he would go, "Hey, let's have another round of applause for my dear friend Perry Kurtz." Women in those days.
My man.
New York, oh, my God. Thank God I got a room with 2 beds. No, you sleep in the other one. I'm done.
The old tiger. I hear him over there. So at this point, you guys you're still working pretty steadily. You're still doing the Comedy Store. It's around 85.
As I said, when the bottom fell out in 2005 and people stopped going to the Comedy Store, Mitzi dropped the money down to about 20%. Okay. Of what it was. And that's because the people just weren't coming. Yeah. And so she has expenses. I mean, she's got a big room. And just the power bill is like $9,000 a month. So she cut the money down. And at that point, I had a family. I married a woman that had 3 kids that didn't know their fathers. And I married them specifically to be a father. And my wife said, well, you can't keep going on the road. To make a living, you have to be a father. So I started looking for other places to go. I wasn't established as a corporate comedian because on the road I was pretty dirty. But I could be clean. So I started calling up senior locations, retirement centers, retirement homes.
That hustle.
Senior living.
Yeah. Why? What made you go that direction?
Well, at that point, I was getting up there. And I knew there were a million of them, and nobody seemed to be doing it. And because I have the ability to be likable, I thought I could go in. The first 5 shows were the most painful experiences of my life. Do you have any idea what it's like to have a 93-year-old lady yell, "You really suck"?
Oh, my God. Are the worst hecklers are 90-year-olds?
Well, they have no filter. Because they think they're going to die tomorrow.
Right.
So they have no reason to not say whatever comes into their head. And they say anything they want. So the first 5 shows were terrible. And I realized that I had to write stuff about the negativity of aging as if I'm going through it too. Okay. So I had to write about dementia and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm at that age. My opening line for the senior homes now is, I'm 68. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm looking for a place to live.
Nice.
So instantly the arms and the legs and mentality, they go, okay. Yeah. So I have questions now. Anybody here with dementia? I just want to know if I can repeat myself in 5 minutes. So then I have to talk about how I have dementia. So you're getting older when you're sitting there and all of a sudden you feel like there's a knife in your arm. Ow, 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 ow. It's God reminding you you're still alive. So I started doing that. And kept going and building that up. And I was working really cheap, and I was doing like 7-8 shows a week to pay my bills because I was supporting a whole family.
Yeah. So almost starting at the bottom again, like almost like...
Well, in a different...
Yeah, in a whole different area. That's so impressive.
So I just redesigned myself. Now I had my daughter. She was born in 2004. So I was supporting a family of 6 now. So I started doing that and driving long distances to do that. And eventually, after a couple of years, I had a reputation of doing a good job. It was very interactive and musical. I would use my guitar. In those days, I used my guitar. And my forte is I would close and make up a song about whatever the audience is doing as they were doing it. So if a woman's going like this with her hair, I'm already singing about the lady over there. She's fixing her hair, and this guy doesn't really care.
You're really quick with those.
That was my forte. Narration. I call it narrational, improvisational freestyle.
And now we're here into where I fell in love with Perry, the rapping legend.
I think I'm going to be sick.
No, it's really...
He came to me and was like, oh, my God.
Yeah,
there's this guy. He raps.
I was like, because we had to vote, and I was like, before anybody comes on, and
that makes sense.
And I was like, guys, you don't understand. And I was like, you don't understand. It's just he's just on point. It's quick, and it's not. We were talking once where I was like talking about sets and writing them versus going up there, and that's when you sort of explained. Sort of how you improvise, you do it straight from the gut, and you do it that way every time. And I've heard you a lot, at least for a little bit, and you rarely hit sort of the same things. Like, you have crutches that you know you can
There
go
are
to.
certain things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, see, what I do is a lot of freestylers call themselves freestylers, but if you see them 4 or 5 times, you'll hear the same lines and the same rhymes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have something different that nobody else does. I've been challenged. I've done 47 rap battles. I've never lost. I did lose one comedy rap battle because I was on heavy medication at that time. I barely remember going up the stairs of the belly room. The comic was pushing me. Come on, old man.
Instead of
And
8 mile,
so-
it was 2 miles.
I did quarter mile. I couldn't keep up. So what I do is I don't look for nouns. I look for verbs. You know what a sportscaster does. All right, he's coming around first base. He's sliding in. He's got his hand up, and he just got tagged out. That's what I do. So if somebody's coming into the room, oh, the door's opening. These two are coming in. They're walking down. They're going to begin. He's ordering a drink. I can't think. I'm over here. I hope I don't stink. It's all about what's happening. So I describe an activity, and then I give an opinion. And this is where the magic happens, and I don't know how it happens. It started 35 years ago. I used to jam with bands up in San Francisco. It's a street called Grant Street. Had 5 bands, and any musicians that were in town would go down just to jam, not to play songs that exist, just to get up and mess around.
Nice.
And I was well known because one night I was playing guitar, and I looked up at the TV, and I described a football game. And everybody stopped drinking, and they're like, and I kept going, and I looked at the other TV, and I described a commercial for Tide.
That's how you invented announcing.
But it wasn't invented. Invented is a process.
Oh.
This started like a switch. Something happened, and I just started doing it.
Like a light bulb.
What I've done is developed my ability to only pick on activity that everybody can see is happening. If I were to talk about you moving your foot out of camera range, they can't see it. So what I've learned to do is only deal with the larger things that the whole room sees that's happening.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes and they sit down, they're picking up a drink, somebody's dancing, and I have a lot of women get up and dance with and on me.
True.
I get twerked at a lot, and it's really embarrassing.
I bet.
Sure it is. If you go to my YouTube page, Perry Kurtz, there's videos. One night, just like a week ago, one woman got up and twerked on me, and then this other woman backed up on me.
Backed up
on me. And so I just keep my arm around their waist, and I just keep on singing about, I'm humping this young chick, and right now she's backing up on my dick. And the crowds go crazy.
Yeah, I lose it. Sometimes I'm the only one in the back because he's so regular.
Yeah.
He does it 7 days a week. He's
Yeah.
out there and does it so many. So the people who are regulars in the area, they're like, yeah, that's just Perry. And I'm over there like I
Right.
just saw the second coming of Christ every time Perry goes up there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, how are you guys not? And she's like, well, he's been doing it for 8 years. And I'm like, and it's still every time like it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
I
have to
started
come out
doing
and see that.
karaoke 8 years when the marriage fell apart. Because I had a family and I had to go out, and I said karaoke, and I got hooked on that. Karaoke. And because I had this ability to make up songs, and when Eminem came out, that's when I started rapping. And I went to a rap battle in Compton,
Oh shit.
Yeah.
which is pure gangsta.
Damn Skippy.
And I was the white guy, and I went through 3 rounds.
Were you well received?
They were booing at me in the first round until I
Yeah.
killed this guy. Just tore him apart. Then they put me up against another guy, ripped him apart. And they're up there and they're freestyling, but they're all doing stuff about the typical white man little dick stuff. And I'm talking about what they're doing and their movements as they're doing it. And the crowd was getting into it. And they're like, whoa! Then they put me up against a guy who, if he sat on this chair, part of his butt cheeks would hang over the side. He was literally over 40 inches wide. And he's singing to me, being insulted, and that's what you do in a battle, you insult. And the last line I said is, you're so fat, your sweat can't wait. If it runs down your face, it'll evaporate.
Oh, fire.
Dang.
They went nuts. And at the end, they brought us all out, and I was like the shortest one out there. And the crowd went, woo! He goes, all right, the winner is Perry Kurtz.
This crazy
And
cracker.
a bunch of people, guys, came running the stage. But they had a bunch of big guys standing there like this, blocking, because people can get very upset.
Yeah.
And so they didn't like the fact that the honky won. He takes me backstage. And he said, man, you got some mad skills. How do you do that? I go, well, it's narrative. I said, I'm like a sportscaster. I tell you what I see, and then I give my opinion of it. He goes, man, you got mad-ass skills. He said, well, here's your money, but do yourself a favor. Don't come back. So now I go back every 3 years. But I go surrounded by 6 or 7 really big black guys. So they can't see me go in, and they can't see me leave.
Nice. So
Now-
you want to keep going every 3 years to show them the king is still here.
Yeah. Now it's only like $200, and I've done a couple. These are scary. The underground rap battles. These take place underneath big buildings in downtown Los
And
Angeles.
you are how old at this point?
I'm 68 now.
No, I mean when you're doing these you're still doing these rap battles.
I'm still doing them.
He's like, where do you think I'm going to
Oh,
after
geez.
this? Like,
Oh,
So
my goodness.
you're around a bunch of 20-some-year-old, and you're up there
Yep.
giving it to them.
The underground rap battles are in buildings you don't know where you are. You go into either Millennium Biltmore or one of the other hotels. Take the elevator down, and it's usually 3 or 4 stories down. And then you get off, you walk down a hallway, and there's a big thing like this or a giant handle or whatever. It's a big door that's about 2 inches thick, solid steel, and you walk down another hallway. And then you walk through an underground sewer tunnel that's been cleaned out that's about 20 feet high. So you're walking on this curve, and you're being led by one guy who knows where everybody's going. And I stay in the back. I don't want anybody behind me.
because of the ghosts.
Well, no, I don't want anybody behind me.
Oh.
I'm not
Because of
stupid.
the shanking.
You know, right. So I stay in the back, and then he'll make a left or he'll make a right. And then you go up, and you don't know where you are. Nobody except this one person knows where you are. And then they start the battles, and they see me come in, everybody gets there and say, oh, shit.
It's the gray wolf. Ah, shit, it's the silver hair.
What are you talking about?
It's
Silver?
Salt and pepper.
it's a salt and pepper.
They-
Oh, that's a good one.
They just they call me the honky, Whitey, the old Jew. I like that.
Oh, that's a
one.
good one.
It's that old Jew again.
MC
But
old Jew.
I never lose because I have this ability to really create on the spot. And sometimes I go really fast. I'll tell you, at the clubs, I'll be like, the guy's over here, he's looking at me now, he's up here, he's got to go pee. I'm up here, it's all about what I see. I don't know what I'm doing, it's in front of me. I keep going, I never stop. I'm up here, I go to the top, I'm in here looking at the pool. I do this, I'm really, really cool.
It just depends on how many cookies he's had, you know.
Yeah.
How much he's
Yes.
smoked for that day, yeah.
Yep.
And so that's and now we're here. And again, this is a very
Yes, so
this is a very
my career's over now.
soft brush because
I know.
there's
So is mine.
it's such a there's so much of it, you know, and we're obviously giving the listeners and the viewers such a broad spectrum of it.
We're
But
trying to-
Yeah,
There's
I've
so
got
much.
stories about so many people, hours of it, and experiences and stuff I've done on the road and weird things that have happened. So there will be a lot more. There will be visuals. In the future, we'll run some of my different videos. I sent you some of the pictures.
Yeah, no.
I'm going to give you a connection to my Google Drive.
Yeah.
With about 1,100 photos of people I've worked with and things I've done and weird experiences. So, you know, during the show, since you've got your laptop or your whatever you got, you can say, and this is this, and then you can show them
no,
what we're
yeah,
talking
that's
about.
definitely, you know,
Make it multimedia
for example, right now we're gonna do the love connection one. And
Me
we're back.
Shoshana.
And-
And then we can talk about what happened for real.
Ah, I like
Oh, yeah,
it.
Shoshana. Yeah. So what was? How did that?
Yeah,
Go?
let them see that, and we'll talk about it
Okay.
afterwards.
Perry knows what he's doing.
Believe me.
So here we are.
Do a lot of these things.
45 years pretty much now of comedy. The big question, why no Perry Kurtz show? Why no?
That's something I've always wondered. I've asked a lot of people, and they told me the issue is, and a couple of agents have explained to me, is because they can't pigeonhole me. They can't. They don't have a way of describing my type, because I'm totally the opposite of the way I look. When I walk up on stage, you never think I'm going to rap.
Yeah.
And you never think I'm going to rap battle. You never think I'm going to start breakdancing.
Yeah, but you're not going to rap in a show. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
if I had a TV show, I would.
No, I just mean, like, let's say at this age, there was a show like Everybody Loves Raymond, and then they were like, "Can you be the grandfather?" I mean, they would they might have.
All my life, people said, you need to be on a sitcom because you're such a character. Because I can do anything. I can do all these accents. I can act. I can be whatever they need to be. I can morph.
Yeah.
And it's never made sense. And I've had a couple agents say that, you're just bizarre. You're like not of this earth.
Have you gone out for those auditions though? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
Do you think like you being non-union, because you do carry non-union status, like is that sort of detrimental to your?
I don't know. I mean, if I'd gotten into something, I would be union now. Right now, I've got my big Booking.com commercial. Be a booker, 22 seconds, and you'll see me dancing. It starts out with a blue background, then a B, and it says Booking.com. And then there's people looking at their phones, dreaming of where they want to go. Then there's the skies, and there's a bunch of guys sitting at a table looking up at them, and then you see me dancing.
Dancing with a lady.
Right.
Doing a nice little twirl.
Oh, horrible.
No glasses, all makeuped up.
Well, I just had my eye operation. I could see out of my right eye, so I was, driving without my glasses.
Like a champion.
Right. So I dance in that. But things still, I have never given up. And a lot of comics that have done it for 20 years, they go, well, I don't have a TV show. I'm not in the movies. And they quit. I've never believed that it's over. I believe that it could still happen. And I keep going. I get grief from young comics, new comics. I'm doing 8, 10, 12, 15 years. Who say, you don't have a TV show. You're not on The Tonight Show. Why aren't you giving up? And I go, well, I wrote for The Tonight Show. I am the man that hugged Jay
you little
Leno.
shit.
I hugged Jay.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I've been on the Late Late Show. I've done a lot of TV, and it's always paid my bills.
Yeah.
There have been some short periods where things were slow, and I sold tax relief to support my family. Did great. Yeah. Sold mattresses. Did great. Yeah. Chester Bennington. I don't know if you remember him.
Lincoln Park.
Right. I sold him a mattress.
Hey.
No kidding.
Yep.
What?
The Olsen twins. I sold them about $24,000 worth of beds.
Jesus
one was
Christ.
nice. The other one was the biggest bitch in the world.
So,
Damn. That's
but
easy to get them separated.
Yeah.
Right. It was easy because I made people laugh. And because I know how to listen, which is really important. If you're going to be interviewing, you need to be careful to wait till they shut up. Because I would listen and I could read them and answer all their questions. It was easy. And I never gave people discounts. And it paid very well. But I hated doing it.
Right.
And then stuff started happening again. And I said, okay. That was in the break between when comedy died and before I got into doing the senior shows full time.
Being unhappy seems to be like, not unhappy, but like, I guess you were doing well. You always seem to have money. At one point you mentioned you were a used car salesman. That
was when I was 18.
Yeah, you've done a lot of stuff and you've been successful at a lot of things. But right before you hit that comedy scene with the art, you hit a point. I don't know, it was after you saw Jesus or what it was. But was it because you were unhappy or was it you just?
What had happened is after I saw Jesus, I realized that. The shrink that I saw told me that I had hallucinated because that's what I was creating in my mind. So that's when I quit the job. Started taking classes in Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I was in Atlantic City, which is where we would go to party when you grew up in Philadelphia, New York. Atlantic City was the shore. There was a song from that period called Under the Boardwalk.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was arrested under the boardwalk many, many times.
My man, I like it.
Girls were sleazy in that day.
Heck
and
yeah.
I'll tell you do not want to get sand in your penis. Trust me.
Oh.
You don't need to tell him. He's gone through it a couple times.
Yeah. But we would go down there. Now, because I have a sweet tooth. When I was 10 years old, my mother found me on the floor in the kitchen drinking Hershey syrup out of a can. Just blip, blip, and I developed a sweet tooth. So when I started drinking, I began drinking Southern Comfort. So I'm in a bar in Atlantic City drinking double shots of Southern Comfort, chased with a Coke no ice. Now, Southern Comfort is very sweet. Yeah. It's very strong. This is stuff that killed Janis Joplin.
Yeah.
And she was almost a man. She was a tough bitch.
She was tough. She
yep.
was tough. Her liver.
So I'm sitting there drinking it, and this big cowboy trucker comes in with a big brim cowboy hat and goes, damn, little man like you drinking all that? Think you can drink more, little man? And I said, if you're buying. Now, I'm a little guy. I've always had this Napoleonic complex. You tell me I can't do something, I go, get out of my way and watch me. I have 2 speeds, fast and get the fuck out of my way. That's it. So I said, if you're buying. He bought me 6 more double shots. That's about 3/4 of a bottle. Now, I'm a little guy. I'm a little under 6 feet tall. I'll tell you when it's a fucking joke. And I drank it all. He gets up and he leaves. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, I'm going across the street and I'm going to pick up a woman. Mm-hmm. Now, this is normal. Guys think that they're going to get lucky because they can mumble and drool at the same time. You ever see one, you walk past, they go, hey, come here. Hey, I have a wheat. Wait. I have one. So I go to get up, and I had turned into liquid mercury, and I remember clearly sliding down, hearing.
Moving through dimensions.
Until my face hit the floor. I get up, and I'm stumbling. I walk out of the bar, and I do the stumble where the drunks fall against the invisible wall. They walk, and they're like,
yeah.
And I went, and I was fine. I go into the bar, trying to talk to women, and they were ignoring me or giving me the finger. And I'm basically going, got really upset, wound up in the corner talking to this girl that had really big square hair. Now, back in the 70s, if you look them up, women had really big hair.
Beehives and stuff,
Beehives, that was called. So she had like square hair.
It's my fetish.
And she's staring at me, just staring at me. But she wasn't pushing me away. She wasn't giving me the finger. She wasn't telling me to screw myself. So I thought I was doing good. Mm-hmm. But after a while, there was no response. So I got upset, walked out of that bar, went across the street, stood on the end of the dock looking at the cold Atlantic Ocean, crying, nobody loves me. I'm just going to kill myself. I don't want to go on anymore.
Compare.
And I stepped off the dock.
No shit.
What I didn't know that 6 feet down sticking out was another dock with a big metal railing around it. I landed on it, twisted my ankle, smashed the metal railing. I still remember that clang noise. I wake up in jail in a big cell with like 30 other guys. I'm on my back. I got vomit on my chest, and I remember saying, I hope this is my own vomit.
Yeah.
A bunch of guys come over, and they circle around me, and they go, hey, it's Mr. Funny. Are you all right, man? I said, yeah. I said, what happened to you? I said, what? And I had this knot on my head the size of a baseball. Damn. And they said, you're pretty funny, man. You should be a comedian. And they were nice to me. My friend bails me out. $5,000.
Damn.
For jumping?
It was a Coast Guard dock. It was hydraulic. It went up and down to meet the giant Coast Guard cutters that are like 20 feet high that can pull up next to an ocean liner.
Damn.
So it was down, and it had a safety railing, and it was 6 feet down. So it was government property. I had climbed 2 10-foot chain link fences to get to it, which I had no memory of.
My guy.
So I may have been drunk, but I was focused.
Damn right.
You had determination to kill yourself.
So we're driving back. I got a lump on my head. And he said, man, you were a mess last night. He says, don't worry, we'll get your bail money will come back because you don't have a record. I said, bail money? What? And he says, what do you remember? I said, I remember talking to women, and They didn't understand me. I couldn't understand me. And he says, "What's the last thing you remember?" I said, "Before leaving the bar." He goes, "Did I talk slow?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, I remember talking to a little girl with big hair." He goes, "Girl with big hair? You were on your knees talking to a bar stool."
Oh, you were that fucked up.
I didn't know the difference.
That is fucking drunk.
And so I quit drinking.
Oh, okay.
And I have not had alcohol since 74.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
so
Last week somebody told me that people usually spend $20 a night on alcohol. And in 45 years, I've saved about $350,000.
I believe it.
So I should be living a lot better than I am.
Well, that's the funny thing about money is it like you look back and you're like, oh, you do taxes especially, and you're like, there's no way I made that much, or there's no way I need to pay that much in taxes. And
It's hard sometimes because when it comes in and it goes out, even if you're filling it in, it just doesn't make sense. Because when you remember something that's stressful, your brain tends to put it, as I say, into the storage closet. I feel our brain can only hold so much data at one time. If it's not important to you, it puts it into a closet until you smell something, see something, hear something, or feel something. Then the door opens and you get a memory that has been lost for 10 years.
No, that's really true. I smell. Every once in a while, I get a whiff of something, and it'll definitely.
Oh yeah, I remember women.
and you have such a great memory. We've talked about it before. You're not great with names, but you're great with facial expression.
Horrible with names. I will meet somebody 10 years later and I will recognize them.
And the Jesus story has a lot to do with it, or at least explains a little bit about that, because you have that drawing mind, and so you don't. Name's a name,
Like I said, we didn't have cameras, and I had to draw the stuff, and it had to look like a photograph, and I had to do it with watercolors.
You still paint?
Yeah. Do you still draw any?
Not in years, no. I could. Next trip, I will bring in the pictures. I have 3 pieces of artwork left over. On my car, there's a picture of me, a cartoon drawing of a cracked up motorcycle.
Is that the one that's on your business cards?
Right. I drew that in 1984 for Motorcyclist magazine. Because when I moved to San Francisco, there was no place to park. There's 1 parking space for every 5 cars. There's 1 bar for every 9 people.
Damn.
So because there was no place to park, I bought a motorcycle. Yeah. I was making so much money running the strip club, a lot of money, outrageous. I bought an $18,000 Harley with cash.
Damn.
And I talked them down from $24,000.
Like a boss.
Dropped it. Beautiful Harley Softail. But because I didn't have a garage, it was chained to a light pole. Now, I had spent $500 on an adamantium titanium chain with links that were an inch thick. Each link was this big, came with a guarantee that if someone cuts through it, they will give you up to $25,000 for your motorcycle.
Oh, shit.
So for 2 weeks, every time I came out, there were cuts into the links. At one point, they got really close. I went back, they gave me a new one. Then I came outside, and the front wheel of the bike had been taken off.
These assholes.
Yeah, $4,500 to replace that wheel.
Was that the bike you rode down?
No. So I wound up selling the bike because it was such a hot item. In those days, to have a Harley, and it was sitting, I lived on Haight Street, high visibility. I turned it in, and I went in and I bought I think it was probably a 77 or a 78 Kawasaki 650, 4-cylinder. And because I was traveling a lot, doing comedy and going up to Seattle and down to San Diego and out to Phoenix, I was making the big triangle like this, just shooting
so
all over.
Awesome.
I put a trunk on the back, and I had
Black bike, right?
no blue. And I had cruise control that basically just locked the throttle. I had a clear windshield to block the wind and the rain, and I had highway pegs to put my feet up. So I could sit in the back seat like this
Oh shit.
and drive. And on the trunk in white letters, and on the back of the bike, on the gas tank, and on the trunk in white letters, it said Perry Cycle. On the trunk, they were like 3-inch letters, Perry Cycle. And I actually had people would pull up next to me in traffic. Hey, what's a Perry Cycle? It's mine. Yours. What's your name? Perry. Your name's Perry? Yeah. What are you, a comedian? Yes, I am. And they would try to run me over. People don't like when they are the butt of the joke.
That's crazy.
So I was driving so much. When I got rid of the bike, I had over 250,000 miles on it in 11 years. And when I finally got rid of it, while I was driving it, I wrote, I think it was 84, 85. I wrote an article for Motorcyclist magazine. I was the only comedian in the country that was a full-time biker. I did not have a car. Everybody, I got a motorcycle on the side, but I didn't.
Wow.
And I drove in any weather. I came across the Golden Gate Bridge on Thanksgiving with my 18-year-old girlfriend. And how old was I then?
He's like, this was last year. I'm 29.
No, I was probably 33 years old.
Nice.
And as we were coming from Mill Valley, they stopped us because they had 70-mile-an-hour winds and rain. And they told me you have to sign a paper. So I went into their office on the bridge.
Oh, wow.
And I had to sign a release stating that the state of California was absolved of any responsibility due to inclement weather and any damage to myself or my motorcycle.
Hell yeah, they wanted to cover themselves.
Signed it in 4 places. We went across, driving, and it was pouring, and my head was going. I could not hold my head still. At one point, I changed lanes. The bike didn't even lean, and I was in another lane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that's the way I am. If I've got to do something, I will keep going until I do it. If I've got a project at home or I'm developing a hack on something, I don't finish until it's done.
And that kind of comes down, in my opinion, to you having a 14-year-old daughter. In that sense, you were a father once.
Well, I was a stepfather, and my wife got pregnant, and I was not planning on having children, but I welcomed her with open arms. And I remember they handed me, and the doctor said, "Mr. Kurtz, do you want to cut the cord?" And I said, "She's plugged in." So that's a whole other story.
Yeah. And I how is that being older and having especially a 14-year-old now at that age where she's
well,
like,
I don't have a
this
problem
guy.
with the energy because I've got more than enough energy. You see my mouth
every
every
night.
night. I rarely sit down.
I've seen your nipples.
I really need to get up because I'm getting stiff. But I don't have a problem keeping up with her energy-wise. But 14-year-olds are filled with hormones.
Yeah.
And they're itchy and they're trying to become their own person. So they become very self-centered and they can be rude. And they want what they want, and they want what they want. I'm not saying that they're bad people, but they can be very annoying. I went through it with my other girls, and as I said, I looked up 14-year-old daughter in the dictionary, and it says, "You're fucked."
Yeah, that's the truth.
I did a show right around here up in Tassara a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "Yeah, I got a 14-year-old daughter," and the lady goes, "Good luck with that one, honey." But
I think that's the ultimate curse, having a daughter. It scares the living hell out of me.
Yeah, that scares me.
When we are together and we're not arguing, it is the most wonderful time of my life. I love her more than life myself. And I was at a period before she was born. Things are not working out at home, and I was at a period where it's like, I don't know if I even want to live at this point. And then when she was born, everything changed.
That's amazing.
And she's funny. She's beautiful. She's a dancer. She gets the dancing from me, that ability. She's done stand-up comedy.
Oh, wow.
I snuck her up on stage at the Comedy Store one time, got yelled at by Mitzi for doing that. "You can't put her on stage. We're going to get arrested." I go, "We're leaving now."
Got to take
And we
those
walked
risks.
out the side door. And her jokes were Why did the chicken cross the road? He was tired of being cooped up.
Oh, that's a classic.
Why was the skeleton afraid to cross the road? He had no guts.
Yeah, those are good ones.
And this is writing done well. Why did the rooster cross the road? The chicken was on vacation.
Hey, good comedy comes in threes.
She wrote that at 8 years old.
That's amazing.
So she's done stand-up, but that's not her forte. They used to have comedy at a pizza place, and she used to get up and would do 5 minutes with no material.
Really?
Just like me, just get up and talk.
Just talk.
Now she's into K-pop, Korean rock and roll.
Oh, God,
and
that's
she
huge.
dances. She was invited to join the K-pop Dance Academy.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. She was invited and was in there and one of the stars. And she's constantly posting on Instagram and on Facebook. She wants to be a dancer, and she definitely has the talent. Yeah.
That's awesome.
You know.
And Instagram, let's talk about that. You know, I'm not calling you old, but if you were, no, I'm just kidding.
When I started Instagram, it was on a dial phone, and it was black and white.
I like that. I was going to say, I'm not calling you old, but if you were a Redwood, you'd have more rings than Tom Brady.
I used to do a joke like, you know how you can tell how old a woman is? You cut off her leg and you count the rings.
Ah, that's good. That's good. So, before I get into the Instagram thing,
everything leads into something else. So when I'm on stage, something will happen, and a memory will come out that relates to something. It's called relative comedy. Like if you go into the store, and I do this all the time, you go into the market at the end of the night, and you know it's a quarter. I go, I guess you're ready to get out of here. They go, oh yes, I am.
Yeah. I mean, is that okay? No, those are ours.
It is.
Yeah. Do you want to go check on them
No,
real
they're
quick?
good because people walk by.
They're
And
good?
they hear
Okay.
dogs. They're good.
Sorry. Our dog's up in there.
Fucking
Motherfuckers.
dogs.
Let's talk of
Well, we're gonna have to start wrapping this up probably in the next 6 minutes.
All right, let's do 6 minutes because I'm going to need
It's
to
an hour
pee.
and
And
30.
good thing is I'm not wearing plastic pants. I do that joke for the seniors.
I mean, we're
I had my hip
He said
replaced.
he's
17
He
right
said
now?
he's cramping.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You gotta go, don't you?
I'm good. My daughter's waiting on me, so she can wait. But
Okay.
I do a joke during my senior shows. I talk about having my hip replaced 10 years ago, which I did. And I talked about, I made up, I go, and just to relate to them. Yeah, and they did something in there, and now I have to wear plastic pants. And I see them all go. I go, and I'm not ashamed of it. It's a relief because it doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I have to go, I just, wait a minute.
My man.
And I've actually had women yell things like, I think he's peeing right now. One guy yelled, are you taking his shit? And then I just go, and I just go on. But again, it's doing it from their point of view.
No, you have to be relatable.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You see somebody and you first meet, one of my favorite lines, you meet somebody and the name's, say, Joseph. Oh, you're Joseph. And they go, yeah, why? Now, that's relatable humor because it's about them. Mm-hmm. They relate to it. So
Perry's hacks.
Now, you have a question, son?
Yeah. How often do you change your underwear?
Every day.
I like it. That's the answer I was hoping for.
I have 28 pairs of underwear. So I do my laundry once a month.
It's 20 more than I have.
Yeah.
That's
And none of mine have holes in it. I have no clothing with holes in it. As soon as it gets a hole, I throw it away. That's just,
Your pants got holes in them?
no.
I'm ashamed by my underwear.
They got the
right
holes
now.
at the top, and then they got the 2 holes at the bottom.
Yours have the holes in the back for your friends.
All right.
I also don't have any denim pants.
Oh, no?
I have no denim because I refuse to be a follower. I wear these. I don't wear a belt because they're uncomfortable. With these,
He has,
so-
he has suspenders,
so
camouflage
much more.
suspenders
You
on
can-
right now.
You have loose pants, they don't pull on you. Yeah. Men get big beer bellies that hang over because they wear belts for years, and it restructures your body. So you have this big hangover. And when I came to San Francisco in, I guess it was 75, and I only met Robin for a couple minutes, I came to town wearing suspenders. And then suddenly he was on Mork and Mindy.
Wearing suspenders. God damn. And Barry, you're a walk through history,
Yeah.
my guy.
But, now I got to make my money doing senior shows. Although this weekend I will be up at the Skirball Center doing a fundraiser for the Yosan Acupuncture University.
Wow.
Okay.
Making
That's very cool.
lot of money for that.
Damn right.
I'll be hosting that show.
Are you still going to auditions and
Yeah.
doing things like trying to get on shows? And
Yeah, I get audition notice. I was driving down here. They sent me an audition for something. But a lot of the things I get I'm not really appropriate for, like Enfamil. I don't have a baby at home on nursing stuff.
Right.
But they send them out to everybody.
you were on that British guy's show where you were tonguing guitar.
Oh,
James Cordon.
Yeah.
How was that?
The link you want to look at is Stage 56 Bar Tricks - Insane Limbo.
What?
Yeah. That's the name of the link on YouTube. The show is called The Late Late Show with James Cordon.
Yeah.
But if the segment is Stage 56 Bar Tricks.
Okay.
They saw me at a show in town called Booby Trap that I do once a month. And it's basically weird things that people do in bars. So if you watch the whole episode, it's like 4 minutes long. Some guy deep throats a pool cue.
Yeah.
Another guy flips flapjacks in a frying pan over his head and behind his back.
Heck yeah.
And then at the end, this girl comes out and does an insane limbo under a bar 18 inches high, standing on beer bottles, and gets down on her back with 2 trays with drinks in it on her back and crawls under there.
Crazy.
And you want to talk about a crotch shot.
Yeah, I bet.
And what was difficult about that taping is that she was in the dressing room right across from mine and kept changing her top. I felt embarrassed for her.
Looking over in a very...
No, I don't stare.
her looking at you.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I didn't stare at her. I've seen more than enough titties in my life. I'll look and go, okay, they're good, and I look away. But I'm not obnoxious like that.
Do you do any writing, Perry, or is there any
No.
nothing like that?
I write jokes in my mind. I have nothing on paper. I have over 18 hours of material, but I've gotten to the point where I remember most of what I said. Like the joke today, I said about the driving out here, I saw a sign that says genuine electric tattoo as compared to genuine steam-powered tattoo.
Yeah.
And then,
Disingenuous.
right. Last week they said that magician David Blaine, who buried himself alive and makes things disappear, he has been accused of sexual harassment.
What?
Yeah, and his answer is, I was just making my penis disappear.
Nice.
Look, it's gone. It's back.
He's a
It's gone.
magician.
It's back.
Come on.
How about scripts, movie scripts, anything like that? You wouldn't write your own series?
I cannot. When I try to put things on paper, my brain stops. It will not allow me because
boring.
I just can't do it because I'm so much into the moment.
Yeah.
And I remember everything I say. If I get up and I tell a joke and it gets a laugh, I will tell it again.
Yeah.
And every time I tell it, there's a little derivation, a little tweak or a hand motion that makes it better, bigger, or stronger, makes it work well. That's what you do in comedy. You get up and you tweak your stuff by doing it over and over. The joke I wrote, I think it was last week or the week before, Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac, who I sang with, and she hated me because I did 11 minutes instead of 6.
Fucking Barry.
Mick Fleetwood saw me singing with the Greg Allman Band.
Yeah.
And I used to host the Exotic Erotic Halloween Bowl in San Francisco for 8 years. I was getting $1,500 a night to do that. 10,000 people, rock and roll, and strippers. So I would have strippers come out on stage, and they would like bend down or lift their legs, and I had to go put my hand over. You can't show pink.
Oh, wow.
And it's because people are getting alcohol, and you weren't, in those days, they weren't allowed to show the inside of the vagina if people were drinking. But people were
Commonly known as pink.
No, people were having sex out in the open. People were doing coke off,
Hell
off
yeah!
of penises.
But we can't see the pink.
You can't see pink?
I'm promoting that. But you can't be on stage as a performer. It was all right if they did it.
Okay.
Because they paid like $25, $30 to get in.
Performers, man.
Right, the performers. So the second time Greg Allman was there, he actually went out and got a guitar like the guitar that I had, which was a Gibson SG mahogany with a Bixby tailpiece. Okay. The tailpiece is what makes the notes go down good. Okay. But the Bixby, it's a bar, and the strings wrap around it, so it never goes out of tune. Right. But they were very rare. Only 300 were made.
Damn.
And I had one, and I told him about it. So the next year he got that. So not only did I get to sing, and in those days I was just singing. Not only did I sing about it, but he let me play guitar with him. So when I get done, this big, tall English guy walks up and goes, "How do you do that improv stuff?" I go, "Well, I just tell you what I see, and then I give my opinion, and the rhymes come out of nowhere," which is the weird part. I don't know how I rhyme. I never know how the line is going to end, but I start it, and sometimes things will happen mystically, or a rhyme will come, and it always works.
Yeah.
And I said, "It's just improv. I'm narrating." He said, "I have this small band, and we're playing for Willie Brown's inaugural ball at the Cow Palace. There may be 5,000 or 6,000 people. Would you like to sing with us?" I said, "Sure." He said, "Your name will be at the guard's desk." So I don't know who I'm going to see. I pull in. There's a sign, Fleetwood Mac.
Damn. Fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I went up on stage, and she gives him a microphone. I was singing about the crowd. I went behind the guitar player, played guitar, went up to keyboard, reached around him, played keyboards because I know a little bit, went up to his drums and just went, shh. And
pulled the first pair of underwear down.
No, I didn't. And I was singing about the audience, and they were doing things. One guy was lifting his girlfriend up on her back and throwing her and spinning her and catching her. And see what it is, when people see that I'm singing about them, they do things for me to sing about. So I did an 11-minute song instead of like 3 or 4. I give her the microphone. She goes, "Fuck you." She throws the mic. It comes off the cord, and it was one of those, an SM-57. Comes off the cord, flies out, hits a guy in the crowd, hits him in the head, and he just disappears in the crowd. Took her manager 20 minutes to get her back on stage. So when I went out to the jam sessions, every musician that ever came to town knew who I was. Even to this day, I sat in a jam session, and the guy goes, "You're the one that pissed off Stevie Nicks. We hate her."
Wow.
So a week ago, 2 weeks ago, she was admitted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the second time. A lot of female singers don't think that's fair that she got in twice. And my explanation is, well, you got to look like this. Most divas are not pleasant people to deal with. Most divas are super bitches. And when it comes to being a super bitch, Stevie Nicks is twice the cunt of the rest of them.
Yeah, that's what I've been
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say the word twice, but it's true. So that's it for now. I want to thank you all for listening.
That's perfect,
Look
man.
me up. Go to Perry Kurtz. I'm on everything. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I don't Snapchat anymore. I used to occasionally, but I got there. And then my webpage, Perry Kurtz. But YouTube, 560 videos. You'll see what I do. And I'll be back with these guys. We're going to be doing some music stuff. We'll be doing some improv. I'm going to get him to dance.
I like it.
Yeah.
And usually we at this point we would throw down freestyle rap, but I want to save that for the next
If
one.
you want to.
Nah.
No. You don't have time.
No, I mean, I don't want to force you to do anything.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I was just saying.
If I don't want to do it, I won't do it.
Damn,
Okay.
Skippy Perry.
No.
Go check Perry out. Like I said, we're gonna make sure that check Smoking Cigarettes out and Drinking Beer, which is a great video with John LaJoy.
Drinking beer and smoking
I
cigarettes.
saw that years ago.
John LaJoy of the League fame.
John LaJoy.
2.2 million views on the video. Go check it out. It's a hilarious video.
He saw me rapping to cleaning out my closet over at the Barrel. And he says, "If I wrote a video, would you be in it?" And I said, "Yeah." So he wrote it, produced it, videotaped it with a swinging camera, made it look cheap. And there's a scene where I'm shooting the pool in my sequence jacket, which I'll wear one of these days. And that was my idea. Let's do a shot where I suck at pool.
It's great. It's a great video.
Yeah, it's really good. Check
Do
it out.
yourselves a favor. Go check that out. John LaJoy from the League of
John
League fame.
LaJoy.
If only I was French.
Well, it's your-
And I had that better French accent. And then other than that, final thoughts. Anything you want to say? Anything? Any questions? Anything good? Did you have fun?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Just,
Is that running?
It
We're
is-
seeing the volumes and
it is
everything running up.
An hour and 41 minutes. But yes, no, thank you for coming. And
My pleasure.
Definitely want you back, and I want to hear you on the guitar.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it.
Songwriting, I don't know, because I'm a singer, so I'm really interested in your music.
Next time, maybe we work on a jingle. Now that we know Perry has his
That's
guitar,
a good idea.
You bring
We'll
your
write something
thing
for
down.
this.
We'll set
Yeah.
something down here. The acoustics aren't great, but maybe we can work on a theme song. We've been trying to work on a theme song.
Yeah,
for the show.
baby. You can't miss. You're listening to Binge on this.
Hey!
We got stuff. We
And
do
with
it
that,
every
guys,
day.
thank you so much for listening and watching. Make sure that you keep on following. Make sure that you rate us. Just remember this, that, and the other. We're going to be seeing a lot more of this guy. I mean, as always,
Take care, guys. Toronto!
dream the dream of 1,000 dreams.